Oh,
Welcome, everybody. This is, what are we going to call this? The Big Reveal Eve. That's what this is. Big Reveal Eve. This is the second to the last night of the Seance at the Whitney. We're going to have a good time, as we always do. These are the authors that we have reading all month long. If you have not yet found them, please go find them, buy their books, support their careers, leave reviews. We're going to have a good time. Part of tonight is author readings, an interactive improv murder mystery game, and book giveaways. The game is going to be a little different tonight because it is Big Reveal Eve. So we're going to do things a little differently than we normally do after the readings. And of course, Diana is looking at the wrong screen. So those are all the indie authors. That's why I was confused. See, it's second to the last night, and I don't even know what I'm doing. Okay, tonight, our readings. Jen Rinaldi is going to be reading from One Day Closer to Death, and Andrew Allen Smith is going to be reading from his book, Curious Cousin. Tonight, we're going to begin with Andrew. Sir, when you are ready, please take the microphone and read aloud.
where do you want me to take the microphone? Oh, okay.
Just holding it in your other hand would work. So that's Curious Cousin, everybody.
Yes, that's Curious Cousin. So, the drive to the Pikeville area was relatively straightforward, except there was no good direct route to Pikeville from Lexington. Like many areas in the mountains of Kentucky, there were a dozen ways to get to the location, but none of them were as direct as they could be. Do you remember that TV show Justified years ago? Jim asked as they drove. Yeah, why? Alex asked. Well, I always wondered how they could get from Lexington to Hazard in 15 minutes, maybe a half hour. It was a magic car, I bet. Jim laughed. It wouldn't have been an hour show if they had done it right, Alex replied. They lost me when they pronounced it Louisville like it had an S in it, Jim giggled. Yet it does have an S in it, Alex proclaimed. You know it's silent, right? Jim was serious for a moment. Yeah, but not everyone does. The cars passed from the front window to the rear as Jim drove and replied, Then they shouldn't have made a show about it. Alex laughed. Serena sat in the back seat and was silent for some time. There were more jabs at other shows that tried to depict Kentucky life. What about Next of Kin? Jim chided. Well, I liked it, Alex said, but I don't know how you can get to Chicago that fast either. That's what I mean, Jim said. When they talk about Kentucky, there doesn't seem to be any realism in time. I mean, look at us driving along. The roads are good, a whole lot better than a lot of other states, but they just don't have as many. If it wasn't for the interstates, we might be sunk. I thought we were talking movies, Alex laughed. The siren was loud and sudden. The lights flashed behind them and lit up the inside of the Suburban. Jim looked in the rearview mirror and laughed. Oops, he said. How bad? Alex was serious. 90 and a 55, Serena said. It's usually good for a visit to the courthouse. That'll be fun, Jim almost giggled. Are you going to pull over? As he said it, they heard the bullhorn from the officer behind them. Pull over! Oh, I guess. I bet I could outrun him. Maybe, Serena interjected, but you can't outrun the radio, and many Kentucky trooper vehicles have been enhanced. Some boast well over 500 horsepower and will outrun this monster without shifting gears. Wow, Jim laughed as he pulled over. She is a regular encyclopedia. You're showing your age, Serena remarked. Not many people even know what an encyclopedia is anymore. They use sites on the internet. Turn off your vehicle, came a voice from behind them. Jim turned off the Suburban and rolled down the window. The trooper got out of the car, and Jim watched him unclip the safety strap on his weapon. Uh-oh, he's going hunting. Jim giggled again. Put your hands out the window, the trooper ordered. As he got closer, he peered into the Suburban and could barely make out people in the back. Jim was laughing. Then he stopped. Federal agent, we are armed. The trooper ducked down a little and backed up with great caution. Let's see some ID, the trooper said. Get out of the car showing your hands and face front, then walk backwards towards me. Jim started to put his hands in to open the door, and the trooper yelled, Hands out of the car! How do I open the door? Open it using the outside handle, the trooper replied. It's locked. Unlock it, the trooper yelled back. How can I do that without putting my hand in the car? Jim laughed. Put your hand in, unlock it, then put your hands back out and open the door so I can see your hands, the trooper said. Jim did as he was told. As Jim stepped out of the car, he worked his way around the car and bumped it closed. His hands were still up as he began walking backwards. Can I get my ID? Jim asked. Step back to me, the trooper replied. Jim kept walking backwards until he was at the back of the black Suburban. How about now? Okay. Slowly. Jim reached into his back pocket and pulled out his wallet, opened it, and held it up. Take the ID out of the plastic, the trooper said. Jim reached up, took the ID out of the plastic, then dropped the contents of his wallet on his head. Damn it all, he said. Don't you use that language around me. I don't care who you are, the trooper replied. Jim laughed. Are you laughing at me? The trooper asked. Well, no, but yes, I'm a little amused by the theatrics. You were doing 88 and a 55. I could run you in for that, the trooper said. You were wrong, Serena. It was 88, not 90, Jim laughed. You think this is funny? The trooper said. Turn around. Jim turned. The man before him couldn't have been more than 24. He was a textbook trooper, fresh out of school, and clean cut to a high degree. His trooper uniform was pressed and perfect, and his hat was placed in a perfect manner, making him look like the ultimate expression of the law. He was tan, but not overly tan, and his dark eyes were seething. Jim knew he was the cause of the frustrations. Jim's hands were still up. Can I lower my hands? Army, huh? Yeah, I was redrafted to run around the country being a janitor, Jim said. A janitor? The trooper replied. Why would that make you drive so fast? Where's the fire? Alex, he wants to know why I was driving fast. Inside the Suburban, Alex put his face in his palm. Tell him, Alex yelled back. The trooper looked at the Suburban and, yeah, tell me. Okay, we are on our way to Iville, Kentucky to find an informant living in the hills who may know something about a militant group and the government has been tracking that may have found a new way to get drugs into the country. We're doing it in association with the DEA, and it has a bit of urgency associated with it. I could have driven a little slower, but I have to admit I like to drive fast, and if it was my car, I would have been going a lot faster. I also have to admit I considered trying to outrun you, but our little ex-FBI agent said your car could be a supercar. With that in mind, I pulled over so we could dance for a while and waste my time with our little escapade. Your ex-agent was right. I would have caught you and probably shot out your tire, the trooper said. Troopers don't shoot out tires. Out here, we do what we have to do. You need to slow down, not for me, but for you. Coal is not mined as much out here, but it still is, and the coal trucks would smash that Suburban like it wasn't there. The trooper paused. I will have to call this in and verify your credentials. Go ahead, Jim said, or talk to Alex. He has the stripes. I'll call it in. Wait here and keep your hands where I can see them. Jim watched as the young man walked to his vehicle, reached in and picked up the radio mic. He talked and waited for an answer, eyes on Jim the entire time. Jim heard the radio, but couldn't make out any words and waited. The trooper nodded a few more times and put the mic back in the car. You check out, but you don't have the necessary authorization to drive that fast out here. I'm going to ask nicely for you to slow down, the trooper said. Jim looked the man in the eyes, paused, blinked a few times, and said, I will try. I would hate to have to tie you up in red tape for a few hours, the trooper said. Understood, Jim replied as the trooper handed back his ID. That this thing could have caught us? Easy, the trooper replied. Okay. So where's this informant? I would rather not pinpoint. It's too close. Why is that? He's best left alone. Something I should worry about? No, he won't get into any trouble unless trouble comes to him. Really? The trooper said. Yeah, Jim said. The problem is trouble likes him. Really? The trooper said. Yes, sir, trooper. Jim looked at the name tag. Trooper Thorne? Yep, that would be me. I will try to slow it down. I'll try not to stop you again, but I won't guarantee anything. Jim laughed. All I can ask. The trooper smiled only a little for a moment, and then it was gone. The trooper turned and walked back to the car, latching his pistol as he walked. As he got back in the car, he took off his hat, and it was almost a ceremony as he sat down in the car, talking on the radio. Jim put his ID away, then knelt and picked up and dropped the contents from his wallet. Brushing his hands off, Jim walked to the Suburban and got in. That went better than expected, Jim remarked. I called a friend I know in KSP and had him call down here. We can't afford the delays. Serena moved forward to the two of them. Really? Jim laughed. Pays to know people. Serena leaned back. Always the quiet ones. Alex laughed. The three pulled out and kept driving while Trooper Thorne watched. Jim accelerated, and soon they were up to 70. He checked the rearview mirror, and there was no car behind him. He wasn't going as fast, but he intended to poke at the little trooper. Apparently, the trooper wasn't interested. As Jim cruised at 70 to keep Alex off his back, he saw blue lights behind him. They were coming up fast, and Jim thought Trooper Thorne and he might have another discussion. But the trooper passed him as though they were sitting still. We must not be the only game in town, Serena said. He had to be doing over 130. I wonder if Rachel and Ronnie are the cause of this, Alex asked. Rachel, I would believe, but Ronnie, no. No, I'm not so sure of that, Alex teased. After all, he got serious laughs at your expense yesterday. I'll give you that. It's nice when you see the kids grow up. I bet you weren't thinking that when he knocked you around the mat. Jim turned around a little. That reminds me, it's going to be your turn between me and Rachel. I'm sure we can work something out, Serena said. After all, I haven't had a good workout since Indianapolis. Alex began to laugh. I never would have thought I would have a team that was not strictly by the book. I often wonder what I did wrong to deserve this. You never know, Jim laughed. You may have done something right to deserve this team. You may be right, Alex laughed. It is a good team. I made it! Yay!
Thank you, Andrew. Hold up your book again, please. This is Curious Cousin. This is book 6, right? In the Masterson Files series, am I right?
That is correct.
Book 6. Hey, I got the numbers right. I rarely get the numbers right. There it is, Curious Cousin. Go get it. It's part of the series, but you can read it as a standalone. Go get it. Buy it.
Lots of.
Jen, are you ready to read?
I am ready.
Your book is behind you, but do you have a copy you can show us? There it is. One Day Closer to Death. I'm super excited to hear about this book. I read the synopsis and it really intrigued me. So I'm excited. When you're ready, please take the microphone and read aloud.
Well, I'll give you a preface first. This takes place after Alex has been shot and Azrael, the archangel of death, brought her to heaven. He didn't know where to bring her, so he brought her to his brother's house. Am I dead? Alex asked herself for the second time in a few months. Not if I can help it, the familiar voice said back as a gloved hand squeezed her hip gently. Azrael? The one and only, he said, drawing her body closer, curving around her. Alex struggled to move and opened her eyes to see him, but was met with an explosion of pain from her ribs and her shoulder. Easy, killer. You've been through quite an ordeal. You're injured, so be still. I am here. Azrael moved his hand closer to her belly reassuringly, and Alex let herself be drawn in by him. She was comforted. She was too tired to say anything more, so she let herself drift off to sleep, because for once she knew who she was with. He had been the voice who had called her all those years ago, and now she was truly with him. Savoring the moments with Alex resting in his arms, he could think of nothing better to do with his time. He wanted to hold these moments in his mind forever, knowing that when she truly saw him, if she did, she may recoil in horror and be gone forever from his life. So he buried his face in her hair to remember her scent, while he meditated and she slept. Azrael and Alex came into full consciousness hours later to the moving of Alex's feet. He loved watching her feet. He had watched her sleep so many times before, and the feeling of her resting against him was unlike anything he had ever experienced. Her warmth, the gentle rise and fall of her chest, and those darn feet. How he hated the council for denying him this. Touch, emotion. Azrael realized he had enveloped her during their meditation. He had managed to get one wing under her, and the other was around her, his arms around her hips. He felt Alex twitch and then remembered her morning habit of sneezing. Quietly, he said to her, "Hey, Alex, whatever you do, don't sneeze." He said it softly so as not to startle her. "What, are you afraid of my germs?" she said weakly, feeling feathers at her bare feet, making her smile. Alex chuckled. "No, not at all. It's just sneezing with broken ribs." He felt her draw back, getting ready for a sneeze that she knew she couldn't stop. He reached out a gloved hand and squeezed her nose shut to soften the blow. Alex winced, tears wetting her bandages, trying hard to catch her breath. "I am so sorry about the glove," Asriel whispered. "I'm sorry about the snot," she said with a smile in her voice, recovering from the sharp pain. Alex went to move his hand away from her face, but Alex pulled her hand up to his, holding it there. "You're fine, Asriel." They stayed in that moment for a few breaths, realizing what it physically meant to be together. She brought her hand to her lips and kissed it gently, holding him tightly. She felt him shudder, and she felt his face brush against her neck, but the fabric brushed her shoulder first, like some barrier between them. Knowing she couldn't turn with her broken ribs, she took his other hand and brought them together, just holding him together with her to her chest, trying best to comfort him. "I don't want this moment to end. I want to remember every detail so I can have these later. Alex, I'm an abomination, and you will fear me." "You are no such thing," she said softly. "I'm here." Alex's wings closed gently around them, his wingtips pressing together, giving them a wall of quiet privacy. Alex couldn't imagine what it would be like to be taught to live without emotions, and with such a fear for his appearance. Whatever he looked like behind the hood, Alex knew that he was her missing piece. She wanted to soothe him, take his face and wipe the tears away. Alex continued shaking as she felt Asriel crying. He was finally dry of tears, as he had seen Alex come to so many times in the last few days. He now understood what her tears meant. He felt Alex's reaction to his appearance, his job, almost losing her, his anger at the council for imposing an emotionless state upon him. Sharing tears with Alex was a balm for his soul. He knew he could talk to her about all of these things now. She held him without revulsion. She knew what Kira had meant when she had said his name, yet she wept for him all the same. "Asriel, are you okay?" "I am," he said in a strong voice as he brought his wings down. "You think you could help me sit up?" Alex asked as she squeezed his hands. "Of course. Just tell me where it hurts, okay?" No problem there, trust me." Alex was really stuck. Her left upper arm bound to her side with the broken ribs. She could barely move. Using his wings and arms as support, he was able to help Alex sit up. He then had to hold her steady as she was instantly dizzy. Asriel, realizing that she was still too weak, inched them back against the wall so that Alex was sitting between his legs with her back to him. His cloak was wrapped around them and his wings stiffly out to the side. The position was awkward but comfortable. It took Alex a few minutes for her head to clear as she was leaning against Asriel's chest, his breath softly brushing her hair. She realized that her friend wasn't minding contact at all, and she was thoughtful. Alex bent her head so she could touch the bandages that covered her cheek and her eyes, and she began to unwrap her eyes with the bandages in her right hand, and the bandages finally fell away. She touched the stitches on her cheek. "I must look like Frankenstein's monster right now," she said in a joking tone. "Now we both need hoods," Asriel said with a snarky tone. She tried to jab him, but let out a moan instead. "You know you will pay for that comment, don't you?" No, really, Alex. The scar shows what a warrior you are. Wear it with pride. Besides, I find it endearing. And that's where I'll stop.
Yeah, thank you so much. Jen, can you hold up your book for us so we can see it again? There it is. One Day Closer to Death. Please go out, support Jen in her writing career. Buy her book if you don't win it on the spinning wheel of happiness tonight. Thank you again, Jen and Andrew, for your readings this evening. We appreciate you sharing your stories with us. Okay, we're gonna get into it, guys. Tonight is Big Reveal Eve. So that means we need to go through and examine everything we have discovered so far and see how many of the little cracks we can fill in. Remember, your accusations are due at 11 p.m. this evening. Melinda, would you mind?
The Seance at the Whitney. At the Ghost Bar inside the Whitney Manor, an historic Detroit estate, a world-famous psychic medium has come for an exclusive invitation-only seance. With so many curious about spiritualism around the world, this event promises to connect the living and the spirit worlds, opening doors to mysteries that transcend time and space. But when the seance spirals into a chilling rendezvous with a vengeful spirit and a shocking murder, it falls upon those in attendance to unravel the truths hidden in the darkest depths of the past. A spirit is summoned, vowing revenge on their killer. One of the guests becomes hysterical, claiming the spirit is there for them. Suddenly, the lights start flickering, and wind pushes the windows open, extinguishing the candles around the room. The room and everyone in it are thrust into darkness. When the light returns, that same hysterical guest is lying on the floor, dead. Who killed them? Why? Was it the furious spirit or something far more earthly?
Well done, Melinda. Thank you so much. Okay, so here we go. I am going to do a quick recap. I am doing this for the benefit of everyone who can later tonight. I'm going to be posting the replay immediately after this evening's session so that you have all of tonight to go back and scrutinize the replay. Remember, your accusations are due by 11 p.m. So tonight is about gathering those last few little facts. Here we go. Our cast of suspects as we first met them. Each suspect has a scroll that identifies them, like this one for me. When you go back to watch the replay, make sure you pause on each one so that you can get a reminder of who they were when this whole thing began. I am your storyteller. The aloof guest is Gary Floyd. The assistant to Christopher Gare is Donna Newman. The fan of the great Christopher is Marianne Wieland. The author, also from the Whitney family, is Amy Kelso. She was Richard's sister, for those of you who weren't with us earlier. The socialite, Dawn Menge, she is not in the room this evening. The spouse, Jules Nelson. She's the spouse of our dearly departed Richard. The maitre d' is Melinda Falco. And the medium is, of course, the great Christopher Gare. As we worked through our mystery, asking questions of each other every night, we were also given some information that I found at the library and through my other multiple sources, and we learned about a few legends. The first is the legend of the Whitney's tarnished history, wherein we learned about David Whitney's prolixity. See, can't speak tonight. Anyway, you guys can read that word. Yeah. For thievery and a penchant for expensive jewelry. The legend of the Whitney-Berkson feud, wherein we learned about the argument and death of Clyde Berkson and the curse Berkson cast over the Whitney Manor. We also heard about the legend of Bethany Whitney, wherein we learned about a young woman who gave her life in an attempt to quiet the spirits of the past. And finally, we learned more about the legend of Nora's disappearance, wherein we learned the truth about Nora's death and Richard's and Jules's guilt surrounding her disappearance. For those of you who need a recap on the connections around the room, this is the Whitney family tree. As you can see, 4 generations of Whitneys. David Whitney was an interesting creature. First, he married Flora McLaughlin, and when she passed, he married Flora's sister, Sarah. This is the seating chart for the seance at the Whitney, reminding you of where everyone was in the room when the deed was done. This is the preliminary autopsy report that shows the cause of death to be blunt force trauma to the right carotid artery, with a secondary wound to the back of Richard's head, which produced a pool of blood, as we remember. The property survey. This gives you a general understanding, though not at all to scale, of the Ainsworth property and the Whitney Manor. And it also shows you approximately where the well, the 2 storage sheds, and the fallout shelters and tunnels that connect the 2 properties. And finally, the Detroit Morgue Review, which, as you recall, was the newsletter we read where we discovered that there was a necklace hidden in the inside breast jacket of Richard's dinner coat. And we also learned that this was the Berkson necklace. So, as we went around the room and we discovered some interesting things and we asked each other questions and we were beginning to formulate our accusations and our theories as to why this murder happened, we witnessed some interesting things going on with our attendees. The great Christopher. The realization that someone is willing to pay you 6 figures for a mediocre performance. Melinda found this not long into our seance questioning, how to quiet down your negative self-talk. This is an interesting article that Melinda found. And then shortly after that, Jules had a very concerned moment when she apparently found a gun in her pocket, use it to quiet her man's fiance. This is Melinda, when you get caught lacking because you lost your key to your gun safe. This is Marianne, when you go full Karen mode because you took your ring off to go after a non-interested man. Poor Jen. Poor Jen. She got caught in all the middle of it. When Marianne never stops talking and gets you questioning your life. Poor Jen. She's not even a suspect. Poor Jen. And Jules again, when someone else makes fun of your sister-in-law, so it's not just you. Marianne again, that face you get when you're told your idea was smart and your ego is bigger than your hat.
Pretty big.
Yeah, it's pretty big. Melinda, when you get asked to narrate, but sometimes you don't want to. That's okay, Melinda. You'll never be asked to narrate again.
This month.
No narration tomorrow. This was an interesting computer glitch that we encountered Marianne ran into a problem and needed to restart. We were just collecting some error info and then we'll restart for you. 0% complete. I don't know if this ever got fixed. Gary found this. This is blonde-haired Donna Newman shocks the world by throwing curves with a crystal ball-sized softball. Never can tell with that Donna thing. And then Melinda again, when your life is in an HR violation and you expose it to everyone. That's one of my favorites. Okay. Jules, sometimes you just have to wonder why you do the things you do. I've had this thought every single night. And I think that same look on my face. Marianne, when the great one says you make weird noises and use your tongue like you're a kitten lapping up milk. Yeah, if you missed that night, it was fun. The great Christopher and how he really feels about that night in Hoboken. And Donna found this in her bathroom when the stalkers leave you love notes. And Marianne, when you find out you were trying to get with the great one's stunt double. This was a really fun month, you guys. And this is Donna Newman's happy place. I'm betting that she wishes she was back there right now. And last but not least, when you find out, poor Melinda, that you may have murdered someone and didn't even know it. So those are thanks for the memories. I appreciate everybody who played that game with us. A special thanks to Mackenzie for sharing her really wonderful computer artistic talents and sensational sense of humor. We really, 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 really appreciate you. All right. As you all know, your accusation statements are due this evening by 11 p.m. Eastern time. Who killed Richard Whitney? What was the primary motive and why? Remember, if you select a primary motive and someone else matches your primary motive, the winner will be selected by the most creative why theory. So make sure you add a why theory when you cast your vote. Amy, I did receive a couple of accusations that I want to read tonight just to get the ball rolling on that. But Amy, I understand you have something to share with the group.
I have something very important to share before we get into our accusations. So perhaps we've been talking this month about a Brazilian maid, and Melinda showed us a picture of said Brazilian maid, but I did a little research. Actually, I know because I live at the Whitney. The picture that she was showing us is not the updated version of the Brazilian maid. In fact, the
really?
Brazilian maid has aged a little bit more. So I want to show you
I'm
the
concerned.
accurate picture of the Brazilian maid. That is our Brazilian maid. Thank you, everyone.
Nicely done. Welcome back, Andrew. We've missed you. Uh-oh, Amy. You might be in his next Masters and Files book.
Uh-oh.
I'd be concerned. Okay.
I just did the research. I found it, you know?
I applaud your research skills.
I think she might be in the next slice of fear better. That'd be,
Ooh, okay.
I like that better.
I'm thinking potato peelers and alcohol. It's working good.
Okay. Amy, if you want to take refuge at my cabin, I'll let you.
Okay, good. Thank you. Wait, but does he know where your cabin is? That might be more dangerous.
Oh my gosh, he does. I forgot about that. Yes, he does.
You were in
actually.
cahoots.
I'm in big trouble now. Okay. We're going to get into reading a couple of these accusations because I know we won't have time to do all of them tomorrow. But I also wanted to give you just a little kind of idea about how to formulate some of these. And I think you're going to enjoy them. So the first one I received came from, I don't know if this was channeled through Christopher or channeled through Donna or how this actually came into the website, but allegedly this came from Richard Whitney. He says he thinks the villain is Gary Floyd. He believes that the primary motive is jealousy. And here's his why theory. He says, I, Richard, think that Nora finished me off in revenge for not running off with her. Death comes as a sweet release for me because my guilt over pushing Nora down the well has always served as a wedge between me and my sweet, beautiful wife, Jules.
Well, drat whoever that was, because that was what I was thinking.
That's not at all what I was
I
thinking.
think Jules wrote that.
My thoughts exactly.
I don't know how that came through, but you know, it's a dead person talking, so I don't know how it got here. The second accusation is actually from Jules. She's accusing me, of all people. Me,
I believe it.
innocent bystander in the room. She says that my primary motive is retribution and revenge. And here is her why theory. To start at the beginning, I saw Marianne taking her ring off as soon as the great Christopher came into her sights, but forgot to slide it into her pocket because she was so flustered. When Marianne threw the crystal ball at Richard, she forgot the ring was still in her hand and the ring went flying with it. That's how it was found across the room. No jewelry stealing ghosts needed. But she didn't mean to aim for Richard. No, ma'am. She was aiming for Gary, who is embodying her baby sister, Nora. If her sister's ghost was really there to face her killer, then she couldn't chance letting her sweet sister inform the great Christopher that Marianne had once been having an affair with Troy, Nora's fiance, and that Marianne had to quiet Nora from telling everyone, including Marianne's husband, about the affair. Even though Nora had likely already told Richard about it, after all, Nora was arranged to marry the gorgeous Troy, where Marianne had been forced to marry a clown. But I digress. When Nora announced her presence, Marianne grabbed the nearest thing on the table, her sister's favorite prop, right as the lights went out. In the darkness, she missed her target, her sweet baby sister, and struck Richard right in the carotid artery, knocking him over backward. When she realized what she did, her surprise and horror was real. After all, she killed the wrong person. But she didn't really kill Richard. Diana, our storyteller, felt Richard's body fall over backwards and saw her opportunity for revenge. Moving closer to Richard's fallen body, Diana stepped on Marianne's wedding ring, mangling it to represent Marianne's messed up marriage even better. Picking up the crystal ball, Diana dealt with the final blow that finished Richard off and silenced the curse her family, the Bergsons, had placed on the Whitney family all those years ago. Her mission in life had always been to make sure there were no more heirs to the Whitney bloodline, which didn't really seem like an issue after Diana saw Richard's wife. Diana wasn't really worried about Amy at all because, after all, we know that Amy is only going to produce books, not heirs. Diana sat herself next to Richard to be in the best position to figure out how to finally carry out her revenge for her fallen Bergson family name. And fate had smiled on her when Marianne tried to finish Richard off for her. Diana might have gotten away with murder, but her downfall was that she always sidestepped direct questions and would never give clear answers. Not to mention all the information she found at the library that always left her monologuing about how horrible the Whitney ancestors were and how mistreated the Berkson family was. All the attention purposefully drawn back to the Berkson family, and even the stolen heirloom planted on Richard's body led a clear path back to Diana. And I just got to say in retort, Jules, I don't know the Berkson family. I'm certainly not one of them. If I had that much money, I would have continued my studies at Cranbrook. I mean, seriously, let's consider that. Our third accusation comes from Marianne Wieland. I see those raised eyebrows, Amy. I was worried
We have enough
too.
time to actually read hers?
Well, we're going to do it. You ready? Marianne accuses Donna Newman. She says her primary motive is retribution and revenge. Here's the why theory. Although Jules Nelson planned to kill Richard with poison in his dessert, someone else had beat her to it. Richard was killed by Donna Newman by accident. Her intended target was the Great One. With her very developed arm muscles giving her the strength to fling the crystal ball across the room, her aim in the dark was off, hitting Richard in the neck instead of the Great One in the forehead. Donna has told us many times that he saved her life from a very dark place. This is very true. Christopher met Donna when he visited the Hubba Hubba Bubba Biker Bar in a seedy area of Seattle where Donna was working as a dancer. Her dancing was legend in the area, and the fact drew Christopher there. He was so impressed with her dancing, he invited her to share a drink with him. As they talked, he realized Donna could see ghosts when she made references to people in the bar who were not really there. He also realized that she was more talented than this man at this than he was. Although Donna made good money with her dancing, the Great One was offering a chance at a normal life, insisting he could teach her to use her powers in his shows. He also promised to pay her very well for her efforts. Donna left Seattle and moved with Christopher to his condo in Hoboken. There was never any personal relationship between the two, as the Great One had such a great relationship with himself. After a year or so of doing Christopher's bidding at his shows and being paid only $8.10 per hour, Donna realized she had been had. Used as a kind of slave to the Great One, which was the only name she was allowed to call him, she had to serve him breakfast in bed every morning, a spinach and corn omelet with deer jerky and pudding. She had to make everything from scratch, including dressing the deer carcass that he would shoot during hunting season. She also had to learn to make the jerky. Every day, she cleaned up his mess in his home or hotel, washed all his Speedos by hand in a special mild detergent she had to make out of animal fat. Donna had to serve meals and wine to rich women he would invite to his home and pretend to like their attention and sponsorship for his shows. Donna had to collect his money, none of which he shared with her. He had to set up the phony seances and tricks to fool the gullible invited guests. But the worst thing she had to do was teach Christopher how to dance, his lifelong passion. He had no talent for this. She had to video each of his practices while he danced around in a skimpy tutu. This went on for 4 years until Donna had had enough. She plotted his demise. She was the real talent. With him dead, she would step into his spot. She started stealing small objects and hiding them under the balls in his sack. Her plan was to frame him as a kleptomaniac eventually. She saved the video footage that she planned to blackmail him with. She silently worked on her plan over the year until the night he spent with Maxine Ainsworth. He decided to give a dance performance, especially for her, as his biggest fan. But When he started doing a dance routine, he had choreographed himself to the tune of Hey Diddle Diddle, the Great One and his fiddle. And he proceeded to play his fiddle during the dance. Well, Donna knew she had to end this farce. She had slaved for 5 long years. She could not take it anymore. She had saved a little money by stealing some of the Great One's money and lying to him about how much he had been paid. She was smarter than the rest, but unfortunately, she killed the wrong person. So she decided to cover it up until her next chance at their next show when they returned to Hoboken. Thank you, Marianne. I'm exhausted. Mark McCraw has also named Marianne Wieland as the villain, saying that her primary motive was anger. Here is his why theory. I have to admit, there were so many people with motives that this became difficult for me to decide. This is what made it so fun. So this may be a shot in the dark. I think Marianne did it because she did not like Richard in the first place. When she arrived at the Whitney, she wanted the whole experience not to be interrupted by someone she did not care for. Richard was also carrying on, rightly so, because of the fear of Nora's ghost wanting revenge. Furthermore, she wanted the solemn ceremony to be just that. He was interrupting the experience the whole time. Marianne was in awe of the great Christopher, following him from place to place. Okay, I'm gonna take a breath. Amy, go.
I don't know if we have time, but if we do, Mackenzie would like me to read her accusation.
I am saving Mackenzie's accusation for tomorrow night
Okay.
because I have a sneaky suspicion about Mackenzie, and I'm waiting until tomorrow night when everybody else has their accusation slung.
Is your suspicion that she actually did it?
I'm
And
not telling
Mackenzie did
you
it?
what my suspicion is,
I think
except to
Mackenzie might have
say,
done it.
except to say that I have learned over the last couple of years, Mackenzie has a wicked imagination.
Yes, she does. So, okay. We'll get that
Wolf,
tomorrow then.
Wolf, you had a question?
Just to get the facts straight, was the ring found in the butler's pantry or the ghost bar itself?
It was found in the ghost bar on the threshold to the butler's pantry, where Donna stepped on it when she came back into the room after turning on the lights.
Okay, that's clear now.
Okay. All right. I have another very quick from Deb McPeak McFadden. She believes the villain is Jules Nelson. She thinks the primary motive is retribution and revenge. And her why theory? Praying mantis syndrome. So there you go, Jules. Okay. Finally, we have an accusation from Amy Kelso. She thinks Amy Kelso is the villain. So she's accusing herself, which I think is a radical idea. And here is her why theory.
Okay.
Can
I read it?
You can. Please go.
Okay, here is my accusation. I think, not sure, but I think I was the one who murdered Richard. Now, let me tell you why I would kill my own brother. Obviously, sorry, my brother just looked at me across the room. Okay. Obviously, the last thing I wanted to do was kill Richard. What I really wanted was for him to help me with my new book, since I had already spent the advance that I got on them and had total writer's block. A true friend, a true brother would help his sister out. However, when I approached my brother for this simple favor, he snapped at me, telling me to leave him alone and never mention it again. Well, I was so offended by what he said that I ran off to the old well, where I've always been able to find comfort. This time, when I went to the well for comfort, I found our crystal ball, the one that had helped us to create all the amazing stories in the first place. Maybe I wouldn't need Richard's help after all. I picked up the ball and took it back with me, planning to slip it into my room before the seance started. But when I got back, everyone was already in the foyer, so I just set it on the mantle. Or did I put it on the table? I don't remember anymore. As the seance was going on, I was a bit distracted, thinking about the crystal ball and about Richard. If my brother was not interested in helping me with my stories, then I didn't really need him in my life. Now, did I? And since I now had the crystal ball, the source of all our inspiration, I didn't really need him. On the other hand, what would happen if he told the world that I wasn't the one to come up with all of my great stories? What if he, in fact, told the whole world that it wasn't me who created the stories at all, but Nora and himself? Well, I couldn't have that. Not when I was so close to all the fame and fortune I'd always dreamed of. And just then, there was the chaos of Nora's ghost showing up and the lights went out. Well, there are two things you should know about me. I am very good at throwing a ball. How many times did Nora Richard and I play catch with the very crystal ball in question? The second thing you should know about me is, after years of playing outside day and night, I've developed very good night vision. While the others were plunged into darkness, I could see well enough to spot my brother across the table from me. Sorry. All it took was a moment to grab the crystal ball and lob it at Richard's head. Well, okay, I guess it hit his neck, but hey, it did the job. It has been so much fun watching all of you in this room scramble around, looking for clues, trying to figure out who could have killed poor Richard. It was especially fun, I'll admit, to watch my dear sister-in-law confess to how fake her marriage to my brother really was. The whole time you guys were trying to solve the murder, I was busy taking notes for my latest book series. Let's just say that my writer's block has officially been cured, better than I could have ever have hoped for. Only there is now another problem. You guys pushed me to confess that I was hoping Richard could help me through the writer's block, and therefore everyone in this room knows the truth, that every story I've ever written was actually created by someone else. Well, I can't let anyone know that. Think of my reputation. And so, oh dear, trusting, easily distracted Melinda, you've been wondering where the keys to your desk are? Really? I pilfered them, just as I've done so many times before. Like that time I stuck your gun into Jules's coat pocket just to see what she would do. I had no clue she'd end up killing Nora with it, but it did make it easier to keep my secret. Anyway, here, Melinda, are your keys. Oh, and here, everyone, is Melinda's gun. Now, to quiet all of you. But don't worry, you will still live on as a character in my books.
Well done. Congratulations. Okay, so we've heard some accusations this evening, and I know that there are still some holes that you have left. We're going to address that in a second. Please, if you haven't done it already, I know I'm being redundant, but your accusations have to be slung on the website by 11 p.m. Eastern time tonight. Amy, if you could please put that link back in the chat so it's accessible to everybody, I would appreciate that. Before we do the talismans from the spirits and the spinning wheel of happiness and the wax drippings, I want to go around the room in speed style fashion. If you have a lingering question that you need answered in order to sling your accusation, ask it now. I need this to be super fast, really fast, because we're running over time here. So to begin, Mark Love, do you have a question that you need answered?
No, I'm so totally confused, it's pointless.
You can do it. Come on, write that accusation. Okay, Gary Floyd, do you have a question?
No, I think that the whole room did it, except me.
Okay. So if it helps anybody, there is one culprit. So I'll give you that. I'll give you that hint. This is not a team effort. There is one culprit. All right, Donna Newman, do you have a question?
Oh, I'm good.
She said, sitting quietly in her padded room.
At least I don't have a straitjacket on anymore.
Well, that's true.
It's a
Mary
step up.
Beth, Mary Beth, do you have an unanswered question? No? Okay. Wolf, do you have an unanswered question?
Yeah, were you ever able to find out who the businessman in Seattle is who killed himself?
No, we have not. Have not found that out. Mackenzie, if you have a question, if you would put it in the chat. Deb McPeak, do you have a question? Go ahead, Amy.
Okay, Mackenzie's question was, why did you do it, Miss Storyteller?
I have nothing to say about that. But I love you, Mackenzie. Deb McPeak, go ahead.
No, I don't have.
Okay. Mary Beth does not have any lingering questions, correct, Amy?
Correct.
It just
Yep.
flashed on my screen. Jules, do you have any lingering questions?
Nope.
Andrew, do you have any lingering questions?
I think it was my crocodile.
Okay.
No, lingering questions. The prosecution rests. We have a good theory.
Thank you. Marianne Whelan, do you have any lingering questions?
No, I am insulted, so I have nothing to say.
That's a first.
More often.
We figured out how to do that. Okay.
Insult. Oh,
Say that again, Andrew.
now we know the secret. More insults need to fly.
Indeed. Justine, do you have any lingering questions?
Nope.
Christopher?
Who created the seating chart?
I
The
don't know.
storyteller did.
It wasn't me, you guys. I think it was the Brazilian maid, but
There's no actual answer to this question?
well, there might be. You have to tune in tomorrow.
That's you're gonna answer them.
Miranda, do you have any lingering questions?
Marianne, did you have an affair with Richard?
With Richard, that moron?
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
Christopher, you're 100% correct. I'm not supposed to lie. The Brazilian maid did, in fact, make up the seating chart. Mandy Joe, do you have any lingering questions?
No. All set.
Jen Rinaldi, do you have any lingering questions? Jennifer Rains, what about you? Oh,
You.
your microphone. Turn your microphone on.
Are we 100% certain that Nora is dead?
We are 100% certain Nora is dead. Amy. Microphone.
Sad day.
Microphone.
I realize I do have a very important question.
Yes.
That necklace that was found in Richard's coat, is that going to go to his next of kin?
Well, considering it was the Berkson necklace, I'm guessing not.
Okay, just checking.
It'll be good in the jail cell.
Yeah. What can you trade that for? I don't
So
know.
if it goes to the Bergsons, then it's going to Miss Storyteller because she is there. Just saying.
I'm not a Berkson, you guys.
You can
Not
get
a
cigarettes
Berkson.
from the screws.
Not a Berkson, I promise you. Gary, did I already ask you? Did you have any lingering
Yes.
questions?
No.
Okay. Melinda, any lingering questions?
This comes from a place of love, but I hate you. You just
understand how that can
destroyed
come from a place of
4
love.
pages of theory.
Oh, oh,
I think Scooter did it.
Well, I love you and sorry, not sorry.
I'm not the one you're going to have to apologize to, but you'll figure that one out tomorrow.
Great.
Because now I have to go with my alternate plan.
Well, the alternate plan is always more dangerous than the initial one, isn't it? All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to do this thing. Talismans from the Spirits. We're giving away books. We're going to give away first copy of Andrew's book, Curious Cousins. Andrew, can you hold up your book? Do you have it nearby? Curious Cousin, there it is. Do, 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 do. And then Jen Rinaldi, your book, One Day Closer to Death. There we go. Awesome. Okay, so we're giving away Andrew's first, and then we'll give away Jen's. And I'm going to bring up the spinning wheel of happiness, and we'll do this. Do, 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 do. Make sure my sound is working, because, you know, you never know with these things. Okay, here we go. Spinning wheel of happiness for Andrew's book. Congratulations, you won a book. Okay, now for Jen's book. Congratulations, Wolf, you won a book again. Well done. Don't forget, everybody, send me your address in an email to diana@pagespromotions.com, and I'll make sure that the authors get your address so that they can send out the books. Now we're going to do wax strippings. You know how this game is played. Tonight is the last night that we're collecting wax strippings. So the final totals we will be sharing at tomorrow's big reveal. So here they are. Amy Kelso in first place. Christopher Gare in second, Andrew Allen Smith in third, Jules Nelson in fourth, and Deborah Reed rounding out the top 5. Here's where everybody else sits. I'm not going through the names because, you know, it's late. Okay. Don't forget, the big reveal is tomorrow, February 29th. We will meet in the Zoom room as usual at 7 p.m. No interrogations tomorrow, just accusations and the big reveal. Also, the spectacular hat contest is happening tomorrow, in addition to a couple of other fun little things that we're going to be doing. Witness statement. Please, pretty please, when you're on the website slinging your accusation, if you can jump over to the other page that's right under it that says witness statement, I would really appreciate it. The more I know about what I got right, what I got wrong, will help to formulate next year's event, and maybe we won't have it if you guys really got bored this year. Okay.
Yeah, we were all bored. You could tell.
Last thing, really super important, everybody. Also on the website is the Indie Author Yearbook for this year's festival. All of the authors and the books that were read all month long are on the website. There are really easy links to go and find the books. And once you've read the books, please leave reviews. I cannot say that enough. We have a spectacular community of authors, and I really, really want to help support them in their careers. And that's why I'm doing this to begin with, because I really believe in all of your work and I think it's amazing. So please go in and share it. Even if you don't buy a book, share the links with your friends, and maybe go to your local library and ask them if they will order it to put on their shelves. This is it, folks. The final shots across the bow. Gary Floyd, do you have shots across the bow? Final thoughts for the evening? Oh, your microphone's not on.
I'm just taking it all in, and I'm looking. You know, the guilty party knows who they are, and I'm looking at them.
Okay. Okay. I don't think the guilty party does know who they are, but
Oh, they know.
it's okay. Donna Newman, shots across the bow.
Nope. But if you have not put your accusation in, I am telling you flat out, it was not me.
Marianne Whelan, shots across the bow.
I must apologize to everybody for being such a witch during this entire thing.
Dirty bird.
Sorry, guys.
You were wonderful. We had terrific fun with you this year, as always. I love your improv theater skills. You did a great job. Melinda Falgo, aside from hating me from now until the dawn of time, or the end of time, I should say, any shots across the bow? Okay. All right. Oh, she's really mad, you guys. She's really mad. She's not even speaking to me now. She's not even speaking to me anymore. Jules Nelson, shots across the bow.
I just really wanted to apologize to Nora for shooting her because apparently my husband had already chosen to stay with me and not run off with her. So I'd already won. So shooting you was really unnecessary. And I apologize for that.
It was kind of overkill.
Yeah, you'd already been pushed down the well. It's not like you were going to climb up 75 feet.
Exactly.
Amy Kelso, shots across the bow.
Nope, nothing.
Wow. This is just unprecedented. I don't know what to do with myself. Christopher Gare, shots across the bow.
I gotta say this was fun in that it's like playing chess with Marianne, where you make the little comment and you look at her face and you can see it in her eyes. She comes back the next day, she's got something. Then you one up it the next day, she comes back up, she's gonna hit you with a club. You bring something bigger and she's gonna come back at you bigger yet. It is so much fun to see what she comes up with.
It has been incredibly enjoyable. Before we leave, all of you guys who are in the gallery, if you guys have one last thought you'd like to leave us with this evening before we do the big reveal tomorrow, I welcome it now. Anybody have anything you'd like to say before we end tonight? Andrew, that always freaks me out when you do that. Like, good to have you back, Andrew.
Doc, it was Richard.
All right.
With
Thank
the
you,
Brazilian
ladies.
maid.
That's right. Okay, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Again, I appreciate you all month. You guys have just been spectacular. You make me laugh every night. You make me want to keep living the next day. So thank you so much. Tomorrow, we're gonna have some fun. It's gonna be a good time. Come on back. See you tomorrow.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.